So today we are working on an ASO, I guess is what we have to call them, anvil-shaped objects, because calling a homemade compilation of metal is not fitting for the term anvil. So I've got some scraps here. Got this I-beam material. Had that laying around for about a year. I think I paid $10 to $15 for this on the drop pile at a metal supplier around here. I've got some 3/8 plate, and I've got some 1/7/8 round tube. Kind of what I'm going to do is obviously piece these together in such a way that they start to resemble an anvil. And I'm going to try to heat this and bend this in the shape of a horn and put it on this end, and then I've still got to cut the back as well. There goes my $12 Harbor Freight angle grinder, which has made all these cuts so far, even through this fairly thick 3/8 plate. It has taken a couple hours, but it has cut it just fine. So it just goes to show you don't need any expensive fancy tools to make an anvil-shaped object. Now we're going to do the top in double 3/8. So we'll have 3/4 inch solid steel top, which should be okay. I mean, it's going to be fairly heavy. We'll have a homemade horn. We'll have, I'm going to do a little different take on the hardy hole. I'm going to show you what I mean, but I think I can do something that is, one, a little easier than making a square hole and thick sheet or thick plate, and might be a little more versatile as well. So I'm kind of thinking maybe like a dual Pritchel hole that acts as a hardy. We'll see. But it's pretty much all cut out now. I'm going to go through, I'm going to go and start welding all this up. Here's a little spine or rib that's going to go in the center here to act as center reinforcement. I'm going to start welding it up. I won't show you all that. Maybe I'll show you kind of if I happen to get a good weld in all this, I'll show it to you. But for the most part, I'm going to tack this together. I'm going to heat this up, try to shape it, and we'll go to town. When I'm done, we'll see if it is an effective anvil-shaped object. Something that you can make for, I don't know, I think I've got less than $30 in scrap metal sitting here that I got off the shelf. Just the extras that were cut offs. Anyway, let's get into it. Here we've got the internal webbing for the new top plate clamped down, and we're going to use an angle grinder to bring it all into the same thickness because my cutting skills are atrocious. Grandpa's advice. Hang in there. Need one of those big cone mandrels. Those big boys. Alright, it's gonna take a few more of those. Well, it ain't perfect, but you can tell what I'm going for here. Kind of that tapered portion of the horn. So this part will be attached to the anvil. I'll weld it on. Now we've got to make this opposite end here pointy. And then we've kind of got a, I don't know, kind of like a horn. Alright, so the anvil side of the horn, if you want to call it a horn, is done. And I kind of cut a little bit of a radius taper on the other end, and I'm going to heat it up, and I'm going to try to just roll that over. I'm not sure. I probably should have connected that or cut that. I might still do that. We'll see. I'm going to heat it up and start tapping on it, and we'll see what it looks like. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the general profile of the horn. Still pretty hot. You can see that's what it looks like on top. We got a nice tapered end. The part where it meets the anvil, or anvil shaped object, is very Darth Vader helmet looking, which is exactly what we need. The only thing I don't like is this little swell here. So I'm going to let this cool down, trim a little bit more of that metal, and then try to bring it the rest of the way in. Get it a little nicer taper. But getting there. Looking good. And after a quick weld and grind, that's what our horn looks like. Alright, so now we have our first layer top plate with that lateral reinforcement tacked in there. Don't make fun of me, that was tough to get in there. And it's ugly, and that's fine. Now we're going to flip it around, and we are going to install the horn using a Deco Pro $130 Amazon welder. Running 220 stick, obviously. Alright, let's get the horn going. Long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart. Google. Hey Google, next song, quit playing Luke Combs. I can love you well. Oh my God. I swear to God this never happened. God dog it. Alright, so it's starting to look like an anvil, kinda. I'm gonna leave a little shoulder here so we can do some like 90-degree, like angled step downs. You know what I mean. And we're going to extend out the back because we're going to do our dual pritchard hole back there, and I'm going to cut off those corners once it's welded. But you can see it's starting to take shape. It's getting heavy, so we're going to keep welding. All right, so I just made a couple lines. Cut this one side off. You can kind of see we're getting the shape. And I'm going to take this cut off, and then I'm going to run it down underneath here. One for support and just to complete the look. You can tell that when I welded across the back there, she warped and laid down on me. If I'd had these in before I did that weld, that wouldn't have been a problem, but that's okay. We'll put these in and it shouldn't bend down anymore. All right, so we got our rear gussets added. That looks really hideous from this angle. Well, it is hideous from all angles, I guess. And then I hit it with the flap disc. Sorry, that paint stripper disc, they sell at Harbor Freight. And we're getting pretty close. Now I'm gonna do a couple pritchard holes. Pritchard, not sure. 2 round holes in the back, and then we're gonna call this thing done. I've got some 15 and 20 coming, and I'm officially gonna do my first forge weld, so I needed something to beat on. All right, we're gonna drill some holes. And there's the finished product. Yeah, it's a little rough, I know, but it didn't cost me anything. This was all literally scraps I had lying around. I did not buy a single piece of metal to do this project, and it's heavy. It's not, square and perfectly flat, but it will do the job. I can, if I want to later, set this down over a post and secure it really well through the sides into either steel or wood. And, it looks all right. And the fact that I made it myself and didn't have to go buy one, the cheapest ones in my area that are actually steel anvils are like $5 to $7 a pound. And I'm not going to do that yet. And the cheaper ones that are cast iron are still way more expensive than this. And it's got a little bit of a bounce. Not much, but so it's not complete junk, although it might look like it. Anyway, the deco did well. We'll leave links to that. And if you have any questions, suggestions, one thing I did realize I should have done differently are my pritchard holes back here. What I'm gonna do is my Hardy tools. I'm going to use some bolts, and like for example, I'm gonna take this old hatchet. I'm gonna weld the bolts right on the end. Then they'll just slide in the back, and then I'll have a cutter. But then I don't lose the utility of my hatchet, even though this is like number 10, and we just use this to throw at stuff. It'll be versatile, and any of the tools I want to put in there, I'll be able to weld a bolt on. If I need to, I can put a nut on the underside and hold it really secure. Because what you see a lot of times is if it's a worn out Hardy hole or a worn out Hardy tool, that tool just bounces around and jiggles and moves and shakes, and this will be very, very secure that way. But I probably should have moved it forward. It's a little, well, you can tell hitting on the back side, it will, it kind of teeter-totters here on the rear. But either way, we'll work with it, and if I need to make a couple more holes up closer, I will. But I needed to get this ready because I've got my first Damascus project with my new Mr. Volcano forge. The steel should be here next week, and I needed to have this ready. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for watching.